It's really interesting, though, that the language Miller is using. He talks about core values and a core issue. And interestingly enough, that's exactly the same wording that the neuroscientist I talked to for my story is a guy named David Linden at Johns Hopkins. And he repeatedly said, when you get to the stage of betrayal, it's because we believe the person has not only been inconsistent, but they've been inconsistent about something that is at their very core. And when we define it that way, we feel like they've been inconsistent, forget it, you're done. However, there could be other people who would say, well, maybe the tax thing wasn't a core value. You know, maybe being an economic pragmatist was, and maybe, they were faced with circumstances they couldn't possibly have foreseen when they made that promise of no new taxes, and so it was not a betrayal of a core value.
And I think it probably also depends on how closely identified you are with the person who has done the inconsistent behavior. Like in the course of reporting the story, I came across this other work by this guy named Drew Weston, who's a psychiatrist, I guess, down at Emory, and he did this study with people who were kind of rabid partisans during the 2004 election, and he had them look at like very clear inconsistent behavior in Kerry and in Bush, and they were just unable to see it as flip-flopping because they were really closely identified. So that's probably another element in what makes us see something as...
At least what I found interesting in Steve's call, Steve, thank you for your call, was that he seemed to be saying he was a George H.W. Bush guy, and that didn't protect him from feeling betrayed.
Right, but he said he agreed with him more than he agreed with Clinton, as opposed to like the guy that the population that Drew Weston was looking at were people who were just, they were going door to door, they were doing all that kind of thing, so that might also affect things.
Let's bring in Matt from Syracuse, New York.
Yep.
Hi, you're on Talk of the Nation.
Hi, I was a liberal student and helped campaign for Obama, and as time went on, I ended up feeling somewhat betrayed and disenchanted after a lot of the things that I expected him to do, he wasn't able to put into practice. But over time, I've actually come to view it as less of a betrayal and more of just a cost of having to make compromises. So I started out feeling betrayed, but I don't feel that way anymore.
And did in the terminology that Shankar gave us of a fox or a hedgehog, where do you put Obama?
That's kind of hard. I would actually put Obama as more of a fox. I feel like he has a lot of different perspectives on different issues and is willing to adapt to the changes in politics and world events.
So Shankar, is there such a thing as a fox that only looks like a hedgehog and a hedgehog that only looks like a fox?
Well, I think the research seems to suggest that because hedgehogs do so much better during campaigns and foxes do so much better when they're in office, the most effective leaders are indeed foxes who can disguise themselves as hedgehogs so that they govern like foxes but they campaign like hedgehogs. But both Steve and Matt are raising a really interesting point that actually is at the intersection of something that Elise and John just talked about, which is that on the one hand, we are much less likely to notice inconsistency when it's people on our side. But it's only the inconsistencies of people on our side that we really perceive as betrayal. So in other words, we don't feel betrayed when somebody from the other side breaks their word and starts agreeing with us.
Because that's when I told you so.
Yeah, we think they've come to their senses. It's only when someone on our side who promises us something that we care deeply about that we perceive it as betrayal. So there's an interesting sort of tension here between being able to perceive consistency in people on our side or on another side, and then feeling betrayed by the consistencies of people on our own side.
Matt, thanks very much for your call. Let's go to Andrew in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Hi, Andrew. You're on Talk of the Nation.
Hello.
Hi. You're on the air.
Yes, I love that you guys are talking about this inconsistency amongst politicians. I think this is a subject that isn't spoken about even in the main political realm that we speak about, even that's important in this time of age. I think one of the worst things that I think that I've seen when it comes to inconsistency is when Obama had campaigned throughout his entire 2008 race against the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and now he wants to lay claim to the end of the Iraq War when it's really just been the policy of George Bush that has been in place before he even left office. So it's like he's riding on the policies of something that was going to end just to make himself look good. for history.
To put things into at least Spiegel's terms, are you an Obama guy in the beginning
I
or
was just
not?
about to ask that question.
Oh, well, no, I didn't really believe him in the beginning. There were certain ways in which I was hoped that he was going to change stuff.
So does the word